Hey you guys, it's Mystic SoulSista here to help align you with the universe to live your best life. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about tarot cards. So I am a tarot reader, tarot. I am a reader, and I wanted to kind of just share a little bit of introductory information if you are interested in starting to read tarot or divination cards. So, first, there are a couple of different types of divination cards that you're going to want to be aware of if you want to start reading them. So, the most common is tarot, like I just said, or tarot. That is usually when you see people reading cards, it's most likely going to be tarot cards. And we've seen tarot readers in movies and shows, and they're the fortune tellers, and they got those giant cards that tell you someone's about to die or your boyfriend's cheating on you. Those are tarot cards. They are a great way to check in on yourself, or if you have clients or people coming to you, it's a great way for people to check in kind of on their vibrational states. So I like to explain tarot cards to my clients or people who are interested in tarot as they pick up the vibrations in the universe. And as a tarot reader, I am someone who is able to translate those vibrations into messages. There's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to tarot cards. A lot of people think it's worshiping the devil or black magic or something like that. And it really is not. The paper, just like money's paper, but yet you can use money to buy a gun and kill someone, or you can use money to buy drugs and use drugs. That doesn't make money bad. That just means it's a tool that you can use to get bad things or do bad things, just like anything. Most people cook with kitchen knives, and some people kill people with kitchen knives. I'm just saying, don't let the idea of the cards scare you, because with or without these cards, the universe is going to be speaking to you and sending you messages, so you might as well just let the cards help you skip a step. So there are a couple different types of divination cards, and a lot of times they all get used interchangeably, but there are some slight differences. So first, you have traditional actual tarot cards. This is the Mystic Monday Tarot, and this is the Good Tarot. The tarot cards are going to have two types of decks inside of them: the major and minor arcana. And this is pretty much the basis of reading tarot. So the major arcana are going to represent big influences, big events into your life, while more like universal, like life monumental type changes or situations, while the minor arcana are going to be more of your day-to-day life interactions, personal development, and like your relationships type of things. So that's kind of the how the tarot cards are defined. Tarot is great, like I said, for checking in kind of on your vibrational state, what's kind of how you're feeling, or maybe how someone might be feeling about you, or if you're just really looking for some intuitive, guided messages. Tarot is very good for that. Next, after tarot, are probably now the most common or second most common type of divination cards, and those are oracle cards. So this is the Work Your Light Oracle, and then I also have the Queen of the Moon Oracle. Oracle cards are set up a little bit different than tarot cards. Tarot, you normally are going to have just kind of very vibrant pictures, either very detailed or very minimal, and you look at the pictures, the colors, and the suits themselves to define what the message is trying to say, as opposed to oracle cards, which are usually, they still have very vibrant, beautiful pictures and images, but they are usually going to have words on them instead of the suits that are going to represent the message that's trying to come across. A lot of people like reading tarot because they're a little bit easier. You don't have to decode as much. You can literally just look at what the word is and find the way that that fits into your client's reading. The other type of oracle card, or the other type of divination cards that I use, I actually just got this deck. It's my first deck. They are the Lenormand divination cards. These are read a little bit different than tarot. They have different spreads. Their designs are a little bit more simple because it's not necessarily about what is on the image to decode the message, but what the image represents. So like here, let's see. Here we have the ring, which could represent something like a promise. It could represent some sort of family heirloom, or it could represent forever. And so if this came up in a reading next to, something else, the pictures is themselves what the pictures represent is how you read the messages. So that's something that's very interesting. I'm still learning how to read these, so I can't really give you too many examples, but I just wanted to make sure you knew that this is a different type of divination reading, divination cards that you'd be able to use if you've been reading tarot for a while, or maybe you don't like the style of it. You have options. So now that you know the type of divination cards that are out there, you can go and pick your first deck. You may hear on the internet a lot of people say that you can't buy your first deck of tarot cards yourself, that they have to be a gift to you. And while this is really cool and really cute in sentiment and idea, it's just not really realistic. These days, a lot of people are either in the closet about their witchy or magical talents and skills and hobbies, and everyone just doesn't have the opportunity to know someone that would be able to gift them their first deck, the first tarot deck. So I bought my first deck online by myself. It's 2020. We're independent. I don't need nobody to buy no cards for me. So my first deck was the Mystic Monday Tarot, and I wanted to pick a deck that first had really vibrant pictures and colors, because I really like reading messages based off of imagery and kind of like the colors and how everything is placed. And then I also wanted a deck that was going to have some sort of diversity. I like reading cards with people that look like me. So all of my cards, they feature all types of genders and ethnicities, and they have a lot of colors. And I just really, really love reading with them, because I feel like my messages are able to come across really a lot better. That's it. So yeah, that was my first deck, and like I said, it's really because of the colors that are on there and also the simplicity. So like you can tell a lot from the colors, but there's not a whole lot like in the pictures that are distracting, and I really like that because you really get to the point of what the message is supposed to be for you, as opposed to some decks, which not to say you don't want decks that are simple and complicated, but like some of the decks that I have, they have a little bit more details to them, and that will allow for definitely deep deeper meanings and multiple multiple messages, but you'd have to like look harder at it to really get those messages. Like, I'm looking at this card. I've had this card a bunch of times, and this is the first time I'm seeing like this reflection in the water down here. It's not. It doesn't even look like it's the same person. And like now, that's going to totally change the way that I read this card when it pops up in a reading for a client, because now I notice that tiny detail. So some decks are more detailed than others, and some decks are going to be a little bit more simple, a little bit more basic. That is going to allow your intuition and your guidance to come through a little bit more instead of using visual cues and clues and things like that. So that's something to consider when you are picking out your first deck. Pretty much just how hard are you going to want to work at it? Are you going to want to train your intuition to pick up on these vibrations and read them as purely as possible? Or do you want your deck to kind of do a little bit more of the heavy lifting, have a bit more details, colors, and images in order for you to connect the dots when you're doing your readings? There is no wrong or right way to read tarot cards. That's why I love it. You don't really have to follow the way that one person reads or their style. You will start developing your own ways of reading the cards. Even shuffling. Everyone doesn't shuffle the same. Everyone doesn't deal the same. And you'll find your own style and your own flow when you're reading these cards. But it's also great because universally, the cards are pretty easy to pick up on. Most of the decks come with guidebooks now, and while I do suggest looking over the guidebook when you first get your tarot cards, my best suggestion for you after you get your first deck is to just look at each of the cards and write down what you think it means, or kind of like what it means to you. When you see that card, what is it saying? That is going to help you be able to build a story in your own voice using the words that you are familiar with. So that way, when these cards come up, you're not having to remember all these different meanings that people assigned for it that don't mean anything to you. An example I think that I should talk about is commonly in tarot, it is taught that wands represent the fire element, and that swords represents the air elements. So when people are reading the cards, if they have swords, they might say, this could be some sort of air sign. So Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, it could be some sort of energy like that. And then they would say like the wands would represent a fiery energy. The reason why that is interesting to me is because when I started reading tarot cards, even though I went into it learning that wands means fire and swords means air, in my head and my logic, swords does not represent air and wands does not represent fire. Swords, I could get why you would say it represents air. They talk about the action of a sword cutting through the air and being determined, which I can definitely get how that could be an airy type of element. But as far as wands creating fire, it just didn't make sense to me. So I actually read my tarot cards with swords equaling fire and wands equaling air, because I think of air making magic happen. You're making things pop out of thin air. You are able to create based off of the energy of your thoughts alone. And swords is more of a fiery energy to me, more of a need to do energy, kind of light a fire on your ass, get shit done type of energy. And so I read them like that, and I've never had a problem with how I read these cards. That being said, I could pull the same cards as another tarot reader, and we can get we shouldn't get completely different messages. We should get the same message, but put into different words. It's kind of like speaking Spanish and speaking English. It's like we could both be saying that that's a beautiful house, but the way that we say it and the words that we use are going to be different. Even the way that a sentence is structured grammatically is going to play a factor on your interpretation of it. So, that being said, again, I think it's great to just start, write down what you think each card means, and you will be able to read tarot in your own voice instead of having to learn how to read, write, and translate in a style that someone else created. All right, you guys, that is it that I had today for my Mystic Soul Mystic tips. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, because tarot can be kind of a very big topic. This was a video I wanted to do just to kind of put in little bite sizes, a little introduction, if it's something that you're interested in and considering. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos about tarot reading and divination cards in the future, I definitely want to be able to go more into depth of how to read them and developing your own style and things like that. So hit that subscription button so you never miss when I post a video, and make sure to follow Mystic SoulSista on Facebook and Instagram. All right, you guys, see you next time. One love and light.